All right, folks, the final 3 weeks of the campaign season before the election. 22 days, can you believe it? Turn on your mic.
I cannot.
John Anthony sitting in for Dan Prof today, host of Black and Right.
That's right. Every Saturday, 1 to 3. I'm really excited about the cruise I got coming up, though, October 24th. Go to at Black and Right Radio or 560answer.com. You'll see the cruise there. Buy a ticket.
All right, what's the cruise? So it's a Trump
it's going to be
cruise,
no. It's going to be a live. I'm going to do a live show on Lake Michigan with my friends at Free Spirit Cruises of Chicago, based in Chicago.
Oh, on Saturday, October 25th.
October 24th.
Pardon?
October 24th.
Okay. Is that a Saturday?
It's a Saturday.
Yes, because that's when your show is.
1 to 3.
Blonde.
So it's going to be from 12 to 3 though.
All right. Well, President Trump, according to his doctors, he is at no transmission risk. Oh. That's a good thing. But of course, the left wants to see 2 negative COVID tests.
Of course.
So he's going to be hitting the campaign trail. He is going to go to Sanford, Florida today, tomorrow, Pennsylvania, and on Wednesday, the great state of Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. And they're out with some new campaign ads.
President Trump is recovering from the coronavirus, and so is America. Together, we rose to meet the challenge, protecting our seniors, getting them life-saving drugs in record time, sparing no expense. President Trump tackled the virus head-on, as leaders should.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
We'll get through this together. We'll live carefully, but not afraid.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And already Dr. Fauci saying, I did not approve of that message, basically saying that he does not support candidates, that he stays out of elections.
Yeah, but you made the comment. So
he made the comment because he was talking about the COVID task force, that they cannot do a better job.
Right.
So he said what he said, and I stand by President Trump for using that. With more on this and other topics, let's welcome back to the show our brother in sound, Steve Cortes. You know, he's host of the Steve Cortes Show, 5 to 7, right here on AM 560. And right now, though, he's taking a leave of absence to help Trump 2020 campaign senior advisor. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. And unfortunately, I'm speaking to you from our nation's capital, actually Arlington, Virginia, to be specific, where Trump campaign headquarters is. Believe me, I miss Chicago. I miss AM 560. But I'm doing something really, really important, and that is trying to reelect this president and, quite frankly, save this country.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the second debate. It has officially been called off, correct?
That is correct, yeah. So unfortunately, it won't be happening. And the Commission on Presidential Debates reveals itself as yet another just totally corrupted swamp organization. It's supposedly bipartisan, but every so-called Republican on the commission hates Donald Trump and detests the America First movement. They tried to step on, Vice President Pence had just a virtuoso performance. He was in total command of the facts on Wednesday night, and he revealed who Kamala Harris really is. And what they decided then on Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, rather than consulting the Trump campaign at all, was to make a unilateral decision to make the next debate virtual, allowing Joe Biden to effectively do it from his basement via Zoom call, where we would have no idea what kind of help he is getting, what kind of assistance electronically, staff, otherwise he's getting. And I think even more importantly than that, or maybe not more importantly because that's pretty terrible, but as importantly, they stepped on the news story because they wanted a Thursday news story to be all about the debate, the second presidential debate, rather than the vice presidential debate, which, again, Mike Pence was just absolutely pitch perfect in his performance that night. And so the commission, again, this is representative. Like the commission itself, you might say, well, is it that big a deal? I mean, it is a big deal, but it's more important because I believe it is emblematic. It embodies the unfortunate trend in Washington, D.C., which is that there's a uniparty system. There really is. There is one party that serves its own interest, the interest of K Street lobbyists, of foreign governments, of multinational U.S. corporations against the interests of American workers. And the commission is, unfortunately, in some ways, it encapsulates that problem and that reason that Donald Trump was elected in 2016.
So what is President Trump going to do this Thursday? Because I know Joe Biden's having a town hall, I think, on ABC News.
That's correct. And I believe, I don't know if this is official yet because the schedule has changed so much in terms of, I believe we're doing a rally that afternoon in North Carolina, in Greenville, North Carolina. I don't know if we've officially announced that night but I believe a town hall is in the plan. I'm so focused on the media part. I'm not part of the operations team on the campaign, so I don't know 100% what they're doing on Thursday. But obviously, listen, we're going to be very, very active. That I will promise you, and we will not be silent on Thursday night. We should be in Miami debating. It should be a head-to-head, in-person debate with Joe Biden. That's not going to happen because of the unilateral action with no medical justification
Ridiculous.
of the commission.
What did they want 2 negative COVID tests? I mean, his doctor came out and said that, he's no longer considered a transmission risk to others.
Right. And by the way, his doctor, Dr. Conley, who went to Notre Dame, I know we have a lot of fans, I'm sure, in the audience today. He went to Notre Dame. Not only is he scientifically credentialed, he's also an incredible patriot. He's a commander in the U.S. Navy. He was in charge of a trauma surgery center in Afghanistan. This man risked his life for our country. I have no reason to doubt his medical and scientific and patriotic credentials in any sense. He says the president is not only not sick. I mean, I think that's clear to anybody who watches the president right now that he's not sick. But on top of that, he's not contagious. He's not a risk to anybody else. And by the way, again, the debate commission did this clearly. If there were a medical issue, let's just for a second give them the benefit of the doubt. If there were a medical issue, that could be decided today, tomorrow, right, to cancel Thursday's debate. They did it last Thursday. Again, why? Why a full week ahead of time did they have to intervene? The only reason is politics. I mean, they were just putting their thumb on the scale and playing partisan politics. And again, that's not just my opinion. I wrote an article about this. I just posted it yesterday at the National Pulse where I quote, I think it's important, unlike liberals, we give evidence, right, for our assertions. I give evidence of the actual quotes of what Frank Fahrenkopf, the supposed Republican who's the head of the commission, as well as other, again, so-called Republicans like John Danforth and Olympia Snowe, former U.S. senators, things they have said about Donald Trump. These are the commissioners who are making this decision.
Hey, Steve. Hey, how's it going, buddy? So good to hear from you.
Great.
Hey,
listen,
go ahead.
We're working really, really hard, around the clock, but I should be, because listen, this election, here's the thing. I think more than anything to it, and I hope that the listeners appreciate this and understand this, what is truly on the ballot. Think of what Joe Biden is threatening to do. He's going to pack the court, number one, right? Permanently change our institutions and permanently change our republic. Number two, he's going to open the borders. And he won't use that phrase, open borders, but that is what he's advocating for, okay? When you say Kamala Harris is on record saying that she will decriminalize border crossing, so when you make it, when there's no legal sanction anymore for doing it, you're de facto allowing it. And more than allowing it, you're actually inciting it because Joe Biden says once you get here illegals, you get free taxpayer-funded health care, and I'm going to give you amnesty and the right to vote. These are the kinds of things that will permanently change the United States of America, which is why all of us, have to just work our tails off to make sure we win this election.
And women should remember that Kamala Harris told a man who raped a woman that she's proud of him, and that's Jacob Blake. She went to Kenosha, and she didn't meet with him in the hospital, but she talked to him, and she told him she was proud of him. And I just think that is indicative of their non-law and order approach to what's going on in this country.
I agree.
And in contrast to that, when President Trump went to Kenosha, who did he meet with? He met with the cops and with the local sheriff.
And the business owners.
Yes. And the sheriff was effusive in his praise for Donald Trump and said, thank goodness, there was one really bad night in Kenosha, but then things got quickly under control and has stayed under control, thank goodness, in Kenosha, right? Which is basically part of the Chicago area, if we can claim it.
Yeah.
But think of that difference, right? Because you had responsible law enforcement there, law enforcement that wanted federal help, got it quickly, and calmed things down immediately. And contrast that, for example, with Portland, which is the polar opposite.
Gosh.
Last night, statues pulled down of, not of Christopher Columbus. And by the way, happy Columbus Day, especially to all the Italians out there listening. But not just of Christopher Columbus. That's bad enough, okay? But of Abraham Lincoln. I mean, literally the emancipator of America, right? The man who freed the slaves. That's not enough, apparently, for these anarchists, for these people who hate America. They tore his statue down last night in Portland. And here's my other message about that is, as offensive as it is to destroy and deface these monuments, whether it's Columbus or Abraham Lincoln, I think the people need to realize, and I don't think I'm being paranoid on this, they're starting with the statues. They're coming for you next. I mean, believe me,
that's true.
They're not going to stop with trophies of granite and bronze and stone. They are going to come for living, breathing political opponents. Look at history. This is how it starts. So be aware, be vigilant. make sure you are registered correctly and make sure all of your friends and family are registered correctly and vote.
Hey, Steve, first of all, I want to say great smackdown of Chris Wallace in that interview. I thought that was an epic smackdown you did when it came to talking about what happened at the debate against Chris Wallace. But what I want to talk about, the 25th Amendment, we saw what Nancy Pelosi came out in the press conference she did. What is the campaign going to do? Because they're now openly telling us, basically telling us what they want to do. I don't think it's so much about President Trump, but I think it's more so if should Biden win, they want to be able to pick the next president. What's the campaign's plan for that?
Well, look, one thing I'm doing, and I'm doing this every media appearance I can, and I'm making videos about this, and we as a campaigner are promoting this, is realize that if you vote for Joe Biden, you are de facto voting for Kamala Harris. And that's not just our opinion. That's the preponderance of the American people believe that. 59% of Americans in Rasmussen poll say that say that Joe Biden would not finish his first term if he is elected. That's pretty significant. I mean, that you have a supermajority of Americans who say Joe Biden could not finish his first term in office, which means a President Harris. And we then need to talk about and think about, well, what does a President Harris mean? And that's critical for us. She is, by the way, not by my opinion, according to independent data. GovTrack is an independent organization that does statistical modeling of legislative records. They determined for the year 2019 the single most liberal member of the United States Senate was Kamala Harris, and that's saying something. I mean, she's to the left of Bernie Sanders, of Elizabeth Warren. Okay, that is how radical her agenda is. Her agenda is very popular, perhaps in her home in the Bay area of California, but in the rest of America, it's incredibly unpopular. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans don't really know who she is. We need to learn very quickly who she is over these next 3 weeks.
So true.
Because if Joe Biden is elected, she could very well, and again, according to the people, will become the president of the United States. And her agenda, like, for example, let me just give you one quick example. Again, like to cite evidence. Fracking. Joe Biden's been all over the map on fracking. Okay, he tries to please everyone at every place. When he's in Western Pennsylvania, he claims he's pro-fracking. When he's with AOC and her squad crowd, he claims he's anti-fracking. Kamala Harris, in a sense, I'll almost give her credit, sort of in air quotes, on this. She is not ambiguous on fracking. She says 100%, I am in favor of banning fracking. So imagine a President Kamala Harris banning fracking, what that would do to our economy. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we would lose 19 million jobs in the United States that are either directly or indirectly tied to fracking. On top of that, not just the economic consequences, but the national security fallout. We would again become dependent on foreign sources of energy, something that thankfully is part of the past and needs to stay in the past.
All right, Steve Cortes, we're going to have to leave it there. Host of the Steve Cortes Show, your listeners miss you, we miss you, and I know that you'll be back after a successful election.
Go Trump.
You. Very soon.
Thanks you. So and speaking of fracking, did you watch Saturday Night Live?
I
they
did.
A spoof on the vice presidential debate, and she brought up fracking.
Now, if anyone should be talking about fracking, it's my guy, Joe Biden. Joe Biden fracks in his free time. Joe Biden will frack you so good, Pennsylvania. And while I personally wanted to ban fracking, now that I know Pennsylvania loves it, I just want to say this. Yous guys can bet on your Wawa cheesesteak hoagie and all the water in Schuylkill River that Joe Biden ain't banning fracking. Go Wiggles.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
There's nothing worse than thinking that your Medicare benefits are going to cover routine medical expenses like vision, dental, and prescription benefits, only to find that when an emergency arises, your Medicare plan is full of gaps that don't even begin to cover your medical emergency. How would it feel to have to go into debt because your Medicare program didn't cover everything 100%? Studies show that 95% of Medicare recipients pay more than $5,000 per year on out-of-pocket medical expenses. At snapmedicare.com, we understand how important it is for you to be prepared for any type of medical emergency. All it takes is a quick phone call to 800